Everybody, and welcome back to Flock's Nest Sports Podcast. As always, I am one of your hosts, Dallas, repping 52 of the Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis.
And as always, I'm the other half, Brendan, ripping 54, Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks.
We got a pretty great episode for you guys today. A little short, maybe, as we don't have as many sports to talk about right now, with baseball and WNBA and all those things having wrapped up. We do have some basketball news. And of course, we will talk college football and the NFL. So we are going to jump right in. Brendan, let's talk NBA.
Yeah, so we had a pretty major thing happen in the NBA yesterday, and that is the Dallas Mavericks have fired general manager Nico Harrison. Obviously, this is following possibly the worst trade in NBA history.
Yeah.
We've talked extensively about Nico Harrison and his shortcomings, and we felt that he should have been fired immediately after those decisions. But here we are. They finally pulled the plug. And yeah, he's no longer the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, they're not having a good season. It's not going well. And Luka looks incredible.
Yeah.
He's in the best shape he's been in a couple of years. And he and Austin Reeves are kind of dominating with the Lakers without LeBron. Like, everything that the Mavericks and Nico Harris wanted to claim he wasn't, he's doing. And,
yeah,
Cooper Flag has the potential to be great. But when guys come out of college in basketball, it's very different than when they come out of college in the NFL.
Basketball takes a little bit to get your feet under you unless you're a superstar.
Yeah.
But yeah, this season alone, Doncic is averaging 37 points, which is just fantastic. He's been playing very well. I do believe he is hurt right now. I think it was just a random injury thing. That was going to keep him out like day to day. So I don't think it's anything too bad. But it's still just thinking about it, an insane trade to make.
Yeah.
Not even. It's pretty much all you can say on it. So I'm not surprised this was the decision. I'm just surprised it took so long to get to this decision.
Yeah. I mean, I get kind of like, okay, you did a thing, an insane thing, but like, maybe there's a plan. Maybe there's a plan. And to see what it looks like now, after you promised fans that this was a championship team, doesn't look like one.
And you got lucky to get Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
That wasn't
like, you had no way of knowing that was going to happen.
That wasn't we're trading with the Lakers to get the number 1 overall pick. So we can get Cooper Flag. No, it was Cooper Flag just kind of landed in your lap. So, I don't know. For a win now trade, you're not winning now.
It's pretty stupid.
So,
yeah, it's not working out. Not surprised. And then, they were chanting it again. Like, the fans were chanting it again at their stadiums. So
At some point,
yeah,
ownership was going to listen.
there was no way around this because it's not going to help this team now. It's
No,
not going to fix anything. But at least then the fans got what they wanted.
yeah. And the next person can have a plan to build around Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
That's, I think.
Yeah.
And that's how the Mavericks are going to have to be. And,
Yeah. You've
and hope that Cooper Flag is as good as everyone thinks he's going to be.
yeah. Because
So,
you already done fucked up. Like it's not. It's no one doing it. It's too late for that.
no. So, yeah, so that was it for the basketball news. Um, Season has gotten underway. We're about 2 weeks into it in terms of
Yeah.
actual games, so nothing too much there, but the firing was the main thing.
I I did actually finally watch a little basketball, so that was exciting. Uh,
Watched a little bit last night before I went to bed. Um, and there was another game I watched, so finally kind of getting into basketball again.
now that baseball's over, it's a little easier to find some time for that. Not not just hockey. So that's been good.
Nice.
Alrighty. Well, if that does it for NBA and pretty much all other sports news, which is crazy, uh, we will move on to college football as they just had week 11 of their season. So,
Yeah, I have to admit, I did not watch nearly as much college football as I wanted to this week.
okay.
Um, so I only really watched two games. I watched Notre Dame Navy, which is a rivalry. Like it's a game that's played a lot. It's kind of considered a rivalry, but it's one of those that's not a rivalry because one team dominates the rivalry.
Yeah.
Notre Dame pretty much never loses to Navy, um, and they didn't this year either. They beat them 49-10. Um, this Notre Dame team started the season off slow and are starting to pick it up again. I think we're starting to see the defense be what we expected, and truthfully, this offense is better than I would have expected with a freshman quarterback. It does help that he has two of the best running backs in college football, but he's still getting it done. So, I mean, when you're getting it done, you're getting it done. So that's cool. Um, this game was a blowout from start to finish. It really didn't matter. Um, but it was so cool to see. Love watching Notre Dame. And then the other game I watched was Indiana Penn State. I really want to watch Indiana for a game because I hadn't all season. Um, and they're two in the nation. They've been beating everybody. They look really good, and I want to see what what Indiana's secret sauce was. And this was a really good game, really close game. Came down to the last 30 seconds. Penn State, who has been struggling this season, had them on the ropes. Um, Indiana needed a last minute touchdown to win. Um, and they did win 27-24. That touchdown they scored at the end of the game was one of the best touchdowns you will watch point blank period. Um, the catch, the throw, the timing of the game, like all of it, one of the best catches I've seen. The toe tap, like if you didn't go see that catch at the end of the game, go watch it. Listen to, I believe it was Gus Johnson on the call. Um, It was incredible. Highly recommend just going to watch that. Um, for me, that was like the main takeaway. Because even when Indiana seemed like they were out of it, their quarterback and their team just seems to like find a way, um, which is saying a lot in college football. Because college football teams tend to not be able to find ways to win. It
Yeah,
tends to be they find ways to lose. It tends to be they find ways to lose. So it's really cool to see Indiana just find ways to win. So I think Indiana is going to be an actual contender this year, which is awesome. I love that program right now. I think they are definitely top two in the nation. I do think Ohio State is still number one, just because they've been there, done that. But this Indiana team is fun. So super cool.
awesome. Um, yeah, sounds like a good game. Might have to check out Indiana next week. I watched two games as well. I watched Auburn Vanderbilt. Kind of wanted to see what Auburn looked like, given that they just fired their head coach, and Vanderbilt's kind of been that fun root for underdog. So turn that one on, and it Vanderbilt does get the win in overtime, 45-38. This was a really good game. It was always really close. Um, both teams kind of traded leads back and forth. I think for Auburn, you could see that they really wanted it, given what the program's been through recently. Like the fight was there. Um, Vanderbilt just a little more stable right now. I think a little more talented right now. Is able to get the win in overtime, and it was just a really good game. Uh, not not anything super crazy, just solid college football. Honestly, um, both teams move the ball really well. Defensively wasn't great, but I've kind of come to expect that a little bit more with college football. Um, but it was a good game.
Nice.
And I think there's potential with Auburn. It's just probably not there right now.
Yeah, having your coach fired doesn't help.
Yeah. Um, and then the next game I watched also had a coach fired. Um, Alabama and LSU. Alabama gets the win 20-9. I was a little surprised at this one. LSU has not been great, so I really thought Alabama would run away with it, and they did not. Really well defensively, obviously only holding LSU to 9 points, but offensively seemed to be a lot of struggles and a lot of inability to move the ball effectively. It was like first half was really slow, and then or like the first quarter and a half, and then second half of quarter two, all of quarter three was really good, and then quarter four they went fuck it. And it's kind of been a common trend with Alabama is they struggle in the beginning, and then they start to pull away, but then quarter four happens and they kind of leave opportunities for teams to come back or to make it more competitive than it probably should have been. And while this was never super competitive, it just kind of stalled out as well. And I understand, you don't got to bury teams or things like that, but you tend to still put up a lot of points in college football. And the fact that that didn't happen, I think, says more about Alabama than LSU trying to rally they just didn't feel like a good game plan, didn't have great execution. I think, we've talked about them a lot this year. They're going to be struggles as the year moves on.
Yeah. And to the not running the score up side of things, you do tend to see it more in college football with good teams just because of how their playoff selection process is. Um,
Yeah,
you are judged off of your strength of victory. Well, if you're going against a lesser opponent, winning by a lot may not help you as much, but winning by a little will hurt you.
yeah,
So,
and that's kind of what it seems like right now. Is they're getting the wins. Not sure it's going to be enough.
mm, yeah, not great.
Any? Well, I do believe that does it for us for college football. Um, Obviously, not as many games maybe as we would have liked, but still watching it, and I will have to see about checking out Indiana next week.
All right. Yeah.
With that, we will move on to the NFL. I kind of like it. It's going to give us a lot of time to talk NFL today.
Yeah. We're gonna
And yeah, go ahead.
we're gonna start with breaking news, and we're going to start with probably the most tragic piece of news we're gonna have. Um, Obviously, if you were paying attention to the NFL this week, you would have known. Before every game, they were doing a moment of silence. That was for Dallas Cowboys pass rusher Marshawn Kneeland, who sadly passed away prior to the games this weekend. Um, Obviously, just terrible news. We're not going to get into like the what happened. If you want to,
No.
just look it up, find out. What we'll say is, if you're struggling with mental health, reach out. Um, there are resources for that.
Yeah.
But
If you're struggling, you know someone's struggling, please look into your resources.
so yeah. Um, we'll start getting into the injuries. Um, yeah. First of all, Raiders offensive lineman Jackson Powers Johnson is expected to miss an extended amount of time with an ankle injury. Um, doesn't sound season ending, but could be just depending on the circumstances. Next is Indianapolis Colts DeForest Buckner has been placed on IR with a neck injury. Neck injuries are kind of iffy. Obviously, um, Matabike had a neck injury and is done for the season. We'll kind of see what this neck injury is and whether he'll be back for the rest of the season or not after his IR stint. Um, Next is the Cardinals did place Kyler Murray on IR with his foot injury. Um, this was kind of expected after his whole benching situation. Um, it's pretty smart from the Cardinals in terms of you actually now free up a roster spot doing it. Next is Bills defensive lineman Landon Jackson tore his MCL and PCL, so he'll be done for the season. Really unfortunate. I think he's a rookie or a second year player. I can't remember. Rookie. So
Okay.
always unfortunate to see those guys go down. Next is rookie Travis Hunter. Unfortunately, is also going a season-ending knee surgery to repair his LCL. Um, Another really unfortunate one. Obviously, we talked about him going to IR. Um, we talked about it probably not being season-ending. Turns out it is season-ending. So really unfortunate. One of the promising rookies. Obviously, the two-way guy. really unfortunate to see him lose valuable time in his rookie season. Um, but this seems to be an injury that he should be able to return to football activities pretty quickly, just not within the year. So, unfortunate there. And then the last bit of injury news is good injury news as Joe Burrow is returning to practice. Obviously, had his toe surgery about 2 months ago, and is now being allowed to practice again. So should be able to return at some point in the next 21 days. So pretty cool there.
The report I saw was they expect him to potentially be back as soon as the Thanksgiving Day game
Okay.
against the Ravens.
Well, from my understanding, is when you allow someone to start practice, when you open someone's practice window, you then have 21 days to activate them, or else they go back
Mm-hmm.
on IR. So
Yeah.
that would check out for timelines. So yeah, Joe
So,
Burrow seems to be coming back for Cincinnati. Not sure how much that's going to help, but it's
but
always
by
great.
all means,
It's always great though to have these star quarterbacks come back and at least be healthy. So there's that.
we don't have to debate whether or not he's a star quarterback right now. He is a franchise quarterback. He is returning to his team. It's always exciting. Obviously, we don't like injuries no matter how I feel about a team or an organization. Um, and quite frankly, as the Ravens, I would rather face Joe Burrow than Joe Flacco. So there's that.
Okay. Next is we had a couple firings. This go.
We did indeed.
So the Raiders fired special teams coordinator Tom McMahon. I mean that it's just kind of a random one, but it happened. So
I mean, they struggled on special teams this
that's
past
just
week. It was
been.
pretty rough.
I feel like everyone's
Pretty rough.
struggling on special teams in a way. So
That's fair. That's fair.
some teams have figured it out. The Raiders were not one of them. Next is not necessarily firings, but we did have a couple things with Dan Quinn has taken over as defensive coordinator for the Commanders. Um, he is the head coach, but he does not call plays, so he's going to start doing that. Um, I don't necessarily think it's the play calling that's the problem in Washington, but you got to do something. So
Yeah.
fuck it.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, during the game on Sunday, Dan Campbell took over offensive play calling duties for Tom Morton. Not really sure what that's going to mean for the future, but he did do it. So,
Yeah.
we'll see.
I'm a little confused by that. We'll see if he continues to do so. I kind of doubt it.
I think this was a. You're going against the Commanders, whose defense is not great.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that the current Lions offensive coordinator has been bad, but I don't think it's quite been what Dan Campbell wants or expects. And I think Campbell took over play calling as a this is what I want, this is what I want from
Yeah.
you, do it this way. And now it's a
And now have it back.
yeah.
Yeah. It made me chuckle, you know. He put on his little glasses and he had his little. It was
It's a little
like,
funny. It's a little
yeah. I was like, what's happening right now? He's a great head coach, and I would struggle to disagree with the choices he makes and the way he goes about things. And I think it's very different than than how we see most head coaches do it. So if he thinks this is what's going to help or what's going to work,
Then it's
by all
probably going to
means.
work.
Yeah, like I have no reason to doubt that.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And then the last bit of news, probably the biggest bit of news, is the New York Giants have fired Brian Dable. Um,
It's insane. It's insane.
I get it. Um, you know, from a standpoint of they have been leading in the fourth quarter of the last 4 games they've played, and they've lost all 4.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. You really can't have that. But at the same time, if you were going to fire him, you should have done it last year. You should have done it before he drafted his quarterback and hit on his quarterback.
Yeah. Like that that's if it weren't for Jackson Dart, I would not disagree with this. I wouldn't bat an eye at this. It has not gone well. And on one hand, right, the Giants are a train wreck. So there's that. But like he's had a losing record throughout his tenure. He had a good first season, but that was it. Absolutely understand the decision to fire him. I do think Daboll's a good head coach. I do think he's a good offensive coordinator. I think there are massive holes in that roster. When you saw, though, what Jackson Dart and Cam Scatabo, and you think about the addition that Malik Neighbors would be, when we
This,
see that happen, I maybe would have waited. Would have, because now you have a rookie quarterback who's going to get a new head coach and then probably a new one again going into his sophomore year.
yeah.
Like,
And on that note, it is the offensive coordinator Mike Kafka who's taking interim head coach responsibilities. Um, and the first thing he
that
did
always
as
goes well.
interim head coach was flip Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston on the depth chart. So Jameis Winston is now the backup in the event Jackson Dart um, cannot play with
Goes,
the concussion he currently has
yeah,
or gets hurt again in the next game. Um, which, to be fair, the odds are he gets hurt in the next game.
yeah, he needs to. We do need to work a little bit on self preservation. Um,
I think the stat is he's been into the tent every game he's played. And
yeah,
your career should not start to look like Anthony Richardson in terms of
no,
injuries. So
no.
let's try
And I
to.
think I think there's an element of Dable has to remember or should have remembered. Now it's too late. Doesn't matter. Um, that Jackson Dart is not Josh Allen, and not everybody can bulldoze through people and be fine. Uh,
Yeah.
there's just it's just different. Like,
So I think Jackson Dart also has to have some self preservation.
yeah,
Um,
and how we go about maybe we stop throwing ourselves forward. It's just an idea I'm having off the top of my head.
but
Something to consider. You can slide feet first. I know that seems to confuse people, but you can.
so yeah, there's that. Um, obviously, it's just been a theme of firing head coaches with rookie quarterbacks right now. I don't know
Yeah.
as if that's gonna help the situation.
And it's like I'd like you to tell me when that's gone. Like which quarterback has overall has been made better?
Bryce Young actually, I would argue, because it was really bad prior to Canales.
It's pretty bad now.
It's at least better. They're at least winning games. He's not losing them games anymore. Like he's the game manager of all game managers currently.
That's fair.
Like,
It just does.
and
It
truth
it
be told,
rarely
that was kind of what we thought he was
works
going to
out.
be out of college. So I mean,
I
like,
mean, yeah, that was ever the best you were ever gonna get. It just rarely works out. It's just,
so yeah, I would argue the best circumstance was Bryce Young, and that's saying something.
and I suppose Caleb Williams is doing well.
Yeah, but you actually like got a head coach for him.
You
So
got
I
a
mean,
decent head coach.
and an offensive-minded head coach. So I think that does help. We'll see. There are ways this works for New York, but there are ways this
Is a
just
train wreck.
completely fucks your franchise.
And guess which one the Giants tend to do.
There's a reason they're in this position to begin with. So
So we shall see. Um,
it'll be a fight to see which New York team can fuck it up first.
fair, fair. Alrighty. Well, if that does it for breaking news, we will get into our games and our games of the week. And as always, we will start with the Baltimore Ravens. Um, the Ravens were at the Vikings this past Sunday. They do get the win 27-19. It's a rough game, actually. It was a rough game. Um, Offensively, it was kind of their worst performance of the year. Really struggled in the red zone. They had 6 red zone drives. They only punched it in twice. So, not great. It was a lot of field goals. They really struggled to get the run game going. Lamar had several ball catchers just drop passes left and right. It was a terrible, terrible performance by the O line, especially, unsurprising, Daniel Falele. Uh, I do not know what he thinks his job is out there. Y'all ever seen the Pink Panther movie with um, Steve Martin, right? And he and his partner get into a fight with some other people, and the guy is just whooping on people, and Steve Martin's just standing there doing hysterical karate or fighting moves, but has not touched a single person. That's Falele. He's there and he's on the field, but like for the love of fuck, block somebody.
Sounds
Like
like he's
just
just
anybody.
sounds like he's just out there fillet-laying around.
Yeah, like, that was great.
Sorry, that
Um,
was couldn't help myself.
it's just for the love of God, anybody. Just block somebody. I don't care who. I don't care if it's a defensive lineman. I don't care. I don't care if you get up the field and tackle a corner. It's an illegal formation. You're too far down the field. Fuck, at least you did something. At least you did something. Like, you can get a flag for it, but fuck it. I don't know what's happening. Um, I understand that Emory Jones is still not ready. I need him to be. Because if I have to continue to watch Falele flail all over the place, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. And finally, other fans, other report are beginning to notice. It's egregiously obvious how disengaged he is on every play. And it does not help. It does not allow Lamar time to get set in the pocket. It does not allow good decision making, execution. It's harder to get the run game going when a portion of your O line is just fucked off. So need that to go away. Um, I think we are still seeing the creativity. I think we're still seeing better play calling. Obviously, they had the fun fake tush push, which I appreciated, given that I think it's going away. They also do have a version that is not technically a tush push. They're just adding Henry to the mix right now, kind of because they can. Um, but in general, it's more like a quarterback sneak without the quarterback. Um, but they ran a fake one. They lined Lamar Jackson into the running back position, and Mark Andrews shovel passed it to him. A little high, but they got it. They got it carried in. Was able to get in for the touchdown, or I'm sorry, get the first down. So it was great. I'm enjoying it. I do think we're seeing an improvement in that regard. Just there were some definite struggles, and the Vikings defense does tend to be a high pressure based defense. They like to get after the quarterback. So I just would have preferred to see a little bit better performance in that regard. Player of the game for the offense is going to be Andrews. He did have one drop pass, but really, when everything's kind of falling apart, when nothing's really working, Lamar finds Mark. And it was their first touchdown of the game. Finally got him away from kicking field goals. He's just a great all-around player. He contributes in the blocking game. He contributes in the passing game. And I know he doesn't have the stats individually right now this season, but he is a great player, and he's a big part of what keeps this offense moving. So that was great to see. Defensively, fucking finally. Finally! This is the game I've been waiting for. This is the game. I understand that we can talk about JJ McCarthy, and we're going to. But this was the first time in, I think, a couple years when the offense struggled and the defense went, you know what, we got you. We're going to deal with it. We'll put the team on our back. We can help too. We can win games. We can close games out. And that's what this felt like. At every point, they were making sure they got Lamar the ball back. They were constantly putting the offense in a good position. Now the offense needs to work on maximizing those points. But this was the best performance I've seen of this defense by far this season. For the second week in a row, they had 3 first turnovers, a fumbled recovery, and 2 interceptions. It was a great game. They did much better against the run. And neither Jefferson, who is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, I would say no less than top 2 in terms of pure talent. Obviously, the stats don't reflect that right now, but in terms of talent, that's what he is. Or Addison were able to get going. And I was definitely concerned with their explosiveness and their ability to run routes and to do those things, what that would look like. And they would carve up the defense, and they didn't. So that was really great. Player of the game, I'm going to give it to Humphrey. I have had questions this season about whether or not I thought he would remain a Raven. And this week, he has a broken finger. We're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up. But he still went out there and he gave it his all. He did get an interception. He was on Jefferson for the majority of the game, which tells me the team still continues to believe in him. And he was able to keep him from going off. and having a great game. Draymond Jones, this was his first start. He looked really good. He didn't really have anything explosive or monumental, right? We didn't see a bunch of sacks, but he did what I needed him to do, which was take pressure off of other people. Mike Green was able to get home. Van Noy got a lot of pressure. He forced the offense to deal with him. And that is an impact. Just because you don't see it in the stat line, just because you don't see it in the big sacks and they're calling his name, he did have a massive impact, and that was great. Especially with Tavion Robinson still out. I thought this was one of their best games against the run, and I think a lot of that can be attributed to Draymond Jones. I have for weeks refused to come on here and be excited and say they're back and be ready to kind of blow the whistle and just be excited for Ravens football. This game did that. This was the game we needed. This was the game I needed as a fan. I know the offense will figure it out. You do not have Lamar Jackson and struggle offensively. To let them struggle and the defense to pull it out, though, and the defense to kind of cover the holes and the mistakes and make up for it was great. And to me, I know some people are like, well, this team is so used to blowing people out. I think that has hurt this team. And I think it overestimates the defense. When they don't have to do as much, teams are desperate. They're trying new things. They make more mistakes. This was the first chance the defense got to show us that they can win games too. And that's what we needed. And to be a playoff team or a contender, that's what we need. So I was really happy. Great game. Great game. Special teams, Loop had 4 field goals attempts. He did miss from 56. He is struggling on those longer ones right now. He's a rookie kicker. Also, I don't really know what's going on this year, but kicking, not so great, right? Obviously, a new record, but overall, it's been a struggle. So, but he's a rookie kicker. I'm not currently very concerned about it. He had a good game. That was good enough for me. He kept them in it when they were struggling. Injuries, unfortunately, we did not come out as healthy as we did the week before. Humphrey did break his finger early in the game. They did wrap it. He does need surgery. That's been determined. If he has surgery, it's going to be about 2 weeks. I think right now he is debating and the team is debating whether or not they're going to do that now or if it can wait until the off season. Pros and cons to both. I think it's going to come down to what kind of damage can be done if it waits. But Humphrey is a leader. He does want to be with his team. So there's a chance that if he can make it work, he will. Rashad Bateman did get a high ankle sprain in the game. There's been debate on whether or not it was a hip drop tackle. Kind of wanted a flag for it. Harbaugh wanted a flag for it. You and I talked about this. Hip drop tackles can be hard to officiate. I know the only hip drop tackle that I was truly upset by when it came to the Ravens. This was not that. It could have been a lot worse. They tend to really fuck your leg up. So the fact that it's just a sprain, pretty lucky. They don't expect him to be out a lot, just maybe missing a little time. And then inside linebacker, Keon Higgins, yeah, um, has a knee injury. Um, that's a day-to-day, week-to-week kind of injury. Doesn't seem to be season-ending. Doesn't appear to be going on IR, but something to keep an eye on. And then the only other real portion of the game I wanted to talk about was the roughing the passer call on Lamar Jackson. And everyone's like, it shouldn't have been. For quarterback, you get hit. You cannot pile drive the quarterback into the ground. And you know who built that rule? You know whose fault it is that that rule's out? Just kind of how it goes. Lamar has for years not drawn the calls that he should have. Because he's a running quarterback, he rarely gets late hit calls. He rarely gets a lot of those things. He was pile drived into the ground. That is roughing the passer. Not allowed to do it. He was fine, luckily, but I don't want to hear that it was a bullshit call. It wasn't. I have more than happily come on here and been like, calls were unfair, calls were unnecessary, all of these things. This was not that. So, get over it. Don't pile drive my quarterback. We'll be fine. But yeah, great game. Really, really happy. Have to keep winning, obviously. They're now one game behind the Steelers in the division. Still making progress. But this was the game I've been waiting for. And unlike last week, it felt like great plays by the defense, not just quarterback struggles. I think there are questions about JJ McCarthy. I think Minnesota has reason to be concerned, but this was a better performance from the Ravens than a bad performance from the Vikings. So that was the most important thing. I do believe that does it for the Ravens game.
Nice. Thought they played good for the most part. Um, I the Vikings are a weird team as well. I don't know what to make of the Vikings. Um, much like I don't know what to make of most of the NFL right now. So
That's
good
fair.
game.
That's fair.
Well, the Seahawks played this weekend. They played the Arizona Cardinals at home. Um, they whooped Arizona's ass. It was 44-22. Um, just another dominant win. The game was at one point 35-0. The first half ended 38-7, and at that point it was over. Um, yeah, it was just an ass beating. Um, the Seahawks have, I think, kind of come to play from here on out. I think they recognize that this could be a season to capitalize on, in terms of making a really strong push. And I think we're seeing that the past couple weeks where they are just taking care of teams, getting games over with quickly, and leaving no doubt. and I appreciate it as a Seahawk fan. I appreciate not having to deal with the cardiac um, style I was used to with the Pete Carroll era, where you felt like a game should be a blowout, and it never ended up that way. It was always close. Um, so it's good to see that the Seahawks are just putting teams away and then going into cruise control and not really worrying about um, close games and these things. Um, so yeah, offensively, JSN is, if it wasn't for what Jonathan Taylor's doing, JSN would walk away with Offensive Player of the Year. But Jonathan Taylor is on a ridiculously insane level. Um, so he might not get it, but he's having an incredible season. In this game, had 93 yards on 5 catches and a touchdown. Um, I think the crazy thing is, I saw a stat that JSN has nearly 10 less targets than Jamar Chase, who is second in the NFL in receiving yards, and yet is beating him by 100 receiving yards. It's been pretty incredible how efficient JSN has been, um, and just how just incredible he's been this season. It's been so good to watch. He's really taken the step we wanted him to this year. Um, when we traded away DK, when we made our decisions with the roster, this was the step we had envisioned for JSN, and really he's blown that out of the water. So it's been great. Um, so that's really cool. George Holani gets his first touchdown. That was cool. Just continuing the theme of not letting Kenneth Walker score touchdowns, as Charbonnet also got a touchdown this game. So the 3 offensive touchdowns went to JSN, Holani, and Charbonnet. Um, Offensively, I didn't think this was a great game for our offense. It just kind of felt like Darnold and the offense never really got into a rhythm in terms of just how good the defense was playing, and they were scoring touchdowns, and the game was already pretty much over, and the offense just kind of threw things in cruise control. So I just felt like Darnold had a relatively rough game, but you could kind of feel that he was never in rhythm. It did not help that the starting center, Jalen Sundell, went out with injury, and Oluwatimi had to come in. That led to the first turnover of the game on a botched fumble, or on a botched snap that led to a fumble. It happens. It's what happens when you have a backup center enter games. It sucks. It is what it is. The interception Darnold threw, not great. Um, the play call probably wasn't the best thing. Darnold got the ball out, but it hits, I want to say it was AJ Barner in the helmet and bounces straight in the air into the arms of a Cardinal. So it sucks, but it is what it is. And then obviously the other fumble, um, that one absolutely is on Darnold. He has to get rid of the football, has to move out of the pocket, has to do something, and not let that ball get jarred loose. So, not Darnold's best game. Turnovers are starting to become a problem. Um, I'm not saying this as like a pro Darnold, pro Gino. Darnold and Gino have had roughly the same amount of turnovers in terms of Gino last year to Darnold this year. Have been roughly on the same pace for turnovers. Darnold has just been playing at a higher level more consistently in terms of the offense is actually functioning. Um, and a lot of Darnold's turnovers are different. Gino had a real struggle in the red zone. That does not seem to be a thing with Darnold currently. So I would like to see the turnovers start to regress. I would like to see improvement there. I want to see less. Um, but right now, where the offense is at, I'm not totally worried about the turnovers. Um, and then the last note on the offense was this was a really good game from the offensive line in terms of a running the ball standpoint. I felt like the Seahawks could actually run the ball this game. They finished with 198 yards, and it was only that because they took the kneel downs at the end of the game. So this was the first game they rushed for over 200 if it wasn't for the QB kneels at the end of the game. So, yeah, I thought they were running the ball effectively. I thought every running back they put in was running the ball effectively. Um, so that's great. Um, I think for this being on the weaker side of offensive performances, I was really happy to see them being able to run the ball effectively. Um, they haven't really been able to do it much this year. It was great to see that. Defensively, this defense is one of the most dominant defenses in the league. It is so fun to watch constantly. Um, the first half was obviously more dominant than the second, but I really do think even in the second, they were fine. A lot of the points that were given up by this defense came off of turnovers, in which the Cardinals pretty much had the ball in the red zone. But the Seahawks did have 2 goal line stands in the game, forced 2 fumbles, had 2 fumble recoveries for touchdowns. This defense was just playing great football, and it was great to see. Obviously, I mentioned the 2 forced fumbles. Both of them were caused by Therese Knight um, on strip sacks. So that was awesome. And then Tank Lawrence, Demarcus Lawrence, had both of the fumble recoveries. Both ended up with touchdowns. Hence why the score got so ludicrous, got so insane in the first half. The offense had touchdowns, but the defense had 2 of their own. So that was awesome. Um, I thought Tyrese Knight, obviously forcing 2 fumbles, getting 2 sacks, had a fantastic game. Was good in coverage, was making tackles. With Ernest Jones not playing, I thought he had a great game. So good there. Drake Thomas, who's the other linebacker, I thought had another good game. Was getting tackles, had one where he shot the gap, got the running back down for a loss on 3rd down. That was really cool. Just seems like the linebacking issue that I thought was going to be a problem wasn't. Nick Emenwari looks so damn good. Um, he's just flying around, making plays. I mean, there are still some rookie moments, but I think if he continues how he's been, I don't necessarily think he will be in the conversation because I don't necessarily think he'll have like the stats for it. But he should be in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year if he continues with the style and the play he's having. But that being said, this was a really dominant defensive performance. The only thing I will say is the defense did struggle with one thing, and it was guarding Trey McBride. McBride had 127 yards, a touchdown. He looked truthfully unstoppable, and that's fine. I think Trey McBride is a fantastic tight end. I think he's one of the hardest tight ends to guard in football. In my opinion, he might be the best best pass catching tight end in football. It's to the point where he's starting to cement himself as that. And if that's the guy that's going to beat you, so be it. I would like the Seahawks to do a little better in preventing him from getting the ball, but at the same time, towards the end of the game, when the Cardinals had to start they were passing the ball on every play, you kind of have to expect it's going to him, and you kind of have to do better at preventing him from getting the ball. So maybe not the best there, but at least it was still a dominant defensive performance, and it did not leave them exposed. So that was fine. Um, for my offensive player of the game, I went with Zach Charbonnet. I thought he was the running back that just ran the ball the best. Um, and I just think in a game where Seattle needed to just be able to run the ball to milk clock, I thought he brought that ability. I thought he also brought real power when he ran. He was really tough to bring down. Um, there was a drive where he pretty much did it all himself, and that was awesome to see. Really helped Seattle just kind of get out of that game, get the clock down, and move on to the next. So that was cool. Um, and then for my defensive player of the game, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to take the Tyrese Knight, Demarcus Lawrence duo, because obviously um, Tyrese Knight forced 2 fumbles, and Demarcus Lawrence returned those 2 fumbles for touchdowns. So really awesome performance there. Not often do you see 2 players assist each other on touchdowns like that. For the same player to get the forced fumble and the same player to get the touchdown recovery was really cool. Um, it definitely looked like a replay in the moment, and then you realize, oh wait, this is happening again. So, truth be told, really awesome game from the Seahawks. Another dominant performance. Love to see that against the Cardinals, who's a division rival, and dominating a division rival is not the easiest thing on the planet. So, really cool to see that. Um, that's it for the game. On some housekeeping side of things, prior to the game, I talked to you about any player was subject to waiver claims. Well, the Seahawks waived Jared Reed, and the Titans claimed him off of waivers. So Jared Reed, no longer a member of the Seattle Seahawks. The Titans have claimed him, so I wish Jared Reed all the best. Good luck in Tennessee. You're gonna need it. Um, some other things. Jaron Reed was put on IR with a wrist and thumb injury. Um, so not great. He should be back prior to the season's end. Sounds like this was the thing that happened in the Texans game. Rested it on the bye, came back the next week, re-injured it, had to have surgery. So he's going on IR. Derek Young also went on IR with a quad injury. Um, not really sure what happened to him, but he is just kind of a depth wide receiver. So not the end of the world there. And then Quinton Bohanna and Cody White were both signed to the active roster to replace those 2 that went on IR. So nothing too bad there, but just some housekeeping news. And then coming out of the game, there's only one injury that I can recall, and that was Jalen Sundell went out with a knee injury. McDonald's full quote is he's expected to be out multiple weeks on IR, but is not expected to be season ending. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Of all the positions for Seattle to lose on the offensive line, center was probably the best case scenario. So Oluwatimi came in this game and I thought had a pretty good game. So as long as we can keep the offense rolling, should not be too bad. That's kind of it. When the Seahawks dominate a game like this, there's just not very many takeaways. What I will say is this is the Seahawks team that needs to show up against the Rams. They need to limit some turnovers, but this is the team we need to see this week against the Rams. So hopefully we do. But otherwise, that's it for the Seahawks.
Yeah, it was, I mean, a dominating win. I think it was ever close or kind of close. Um, so there's that.
Yeah.
I know you were mildly concerned going into it, but I was not, and I did not think it had a chance. I understand like trap games and things like that,
The
but
the reason I was a little skeptical is one, I thought the Cardinals would get a small boost from their decision on Jacoby Brissett.
I mean, look, 22 points is not bad.
Two, I did actually
You
think this
did.
was a trap game of like division rival. You need to win this game to keep your chances in the division, and this team is 0-8 against you the past 8 meetings. At some point,
Yeah.
that team's got to win.
Well,
It was not this point.
yeah. Um, it was a good game. I still think obviously the Cardinals' decision to go with Jacoby Brissett was correct. Um, but yeah, it was a dominating performance by the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And it was weird, right? And we don't have to talk about it right now. That two games ended with the exact same scores. So that was weird.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Alrighty. Well, if that does it for the Seahawks, then we will kick it over to our games of the week. I watched the experience that was Saints Panthers. This was terrible. Terrible. Saints get the win 17-7. And the way I was I don't think I've ever been so disinterested in a football game in my life. It wasn't a great game. Bryce Young didn't have a good day. I don't think Tyler Shuck is. I'm not convinced that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. They are very injured at O line. They have massive roster problems, and they have for a long time. And that comes with how their roster is constructed, how their cap is divvied. There are a lot of elements that go into that. But for the time being, it's just rough. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get an accurate assessment of any quarterback on that team right now. And I really don't think the Panthers have an identity. And that was really clear. Um,
the
it was
Panthers
not
are
a good game.
just.
It was not a good game. And
Yeah.
any thoughts? I don't have many thoughts.
My one thought is, how do the Panthers go from beating the Packers to losing to the
Yeah.
Saints? That's my thought. I don't get that, but okay. My game of the week was slightly better. Not much better, but slightly better. I had the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants. Um, this game, let me put it this way. The minute Jackson Dart went out, I pretty much tuned out of this game. I kind of figured it was going to end with the Bears winning at that point. And I'm very glad I tuned out at the end of this game because truthfully, it wasn't very good at the end. Um, I will give the Giants this. They're very good until you want them to finish out a game. Or not very good. They're good until the fourth quarter trying to finish out a game. Because again, they go into the fourth quarter up 20-10. They then proceed to lose the game 24-20. You just can't lose games. You're up by 10 points in the fourth quarter. Like, I get it. Jackson Dart went out. Russell Wilson came in. Did not have a particularly good game. There's a reason the interim head coach is moving to Jameis Winston in the event Jackson Dart can't go. I don't know how much it's going to help this team, but it's at least something other than Russell Wilson. Because 3 for 7 for 45 yards, 2 sacks is not going to get it done. It's just not. So, on the Giants side, you have to start finishing out games. You gotta. And Jackson Dart has to stay healthy. You cannot keep letting that happen.
Yeah. No, agreed.
On the
It will
Bears,
be interesting what they look like moving forward.
on the Bears side, I can't quite figure out what the Bears are. Because the end of the game, the Bears offense seemed to be working. I thought Caleb Williams looked pretty good. I will say I think the Bears defense I'm 50-50 on. I don't know if the Bears defense is great, but I don't think they're terrible. I thought they definitely had a better showing than they did against the Bengals. But you're also playing the Giants. So, not really sure there. I think the most impressive thing from the Bears team was that Caleb Williams took 0 sacks. I think the offensive line of the Bears is significantly improved, and Caleb Williams is doing a significantly better job at not taking sacks this year. There's been a problem of his in college and last year in the NFL. I think this year he's doing a significantly better job at limiting those mistakes. And I do think that's helping the Bears offense succeed a little more. But for the Bears, this was you had to win this game, and they did. So, good job to them. But that's where I'm at with the Bears. I'm not sure. When the Bears come up against a good team to a great team, I don't think they're going to do much. I think when you come up against a mid to a good, they'll hang in it. They might win games. But once they come up against the good to great, I don't see this team doing much.
No, I mean, look, I understand that Bears fans are very excited right now that Caleb Williams is leading comeback wins and game-winning drives and things like that. Has anybody else watched a Giants game this year? Because I have, and they also lost their starting quarterback. Their top offensive talent is hurt. Their defense has not quite been as advertised. They got the win, and I understand that you want to see these things, but I think the one thing I'm noting the body language seems to be a little better. When they're down, he's not dejected, but we'll also see what happens when they face better teams, when he's getting hit, when you're kind of down and actually out of it.
When
So,
adversity does hit.
yeah,
I don't think
because
they've
right
really.
now,
I don't think they've had much adversity in terms of like actual. Like I get it, you've had to lead comebacks, but you lead comebacks against bad teams. Try to lead a comeback against a Seahawks defense, a legit team with a good defense, and see where that gets you. I don't think they could do it against the Lions. I don't think they could do it against the Eagles. Like, you gotta prove it against the teams that are ahead of you, not behind you. That's where I'm at with the Bears.
fair. Yeah, I mean, uh, I agree. Alrighty. Well, if that does it for the Giants Bears game, what other games this week do you want to talk about? What else stood out?
Um, I think Colts Falcons stood out in Berlin. Um, Obviously, Colts win 31-25. But the real thing that stood out for me is Jonathan Taylor is a monster. Um, this guy should be in the MVP conversation. He won't be. Spoiler alert. It doesn't go to non-quarterbacks, but he should be because what he's doing is pretty much insane. Um, Jonathan Taylor in this game had 32 carries for 244 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has, I want to say, 17 touchdowns on the season, which is just ridiculous. Yes, he has 15 rushing touchdowns and 2 catching touchdowns. He has been by far and away the best player this season. Um, it's been pretty crazy to watch. In this game, when the Colts needed it the most, I felt like he got it done. He had the long touchdown, the 83-yard touchdown, to give the Colts the lead, give the Colts a good position to go win the game. Obviously, the defense couldn't quite get it done. The Falcons tied up. But in overtime, again, when the team needed it the most, they just kept feeding him the ball, and he kept getting it, and he kept getting it. And then eventually found himself in the end zone to win the game. So, right now, I think Jonathan Taylor should be, but won't be, in the MVP conversation. He's been, by far and away, in my opinion, the best player this season, and it's not even close.
He is currently MVP favorite. We'll see how that shakes out in the end. But currently,
Last year,
yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I'm just
Saquon was the
noting
MVP favorite.
like Ali didn't hit 2,000 yards, so
The one thing I will say is the last time
and
a
Jonathan Taylor has way more touchdowns.
I will say that's the one thing. The last time a quarterback didn't win MVP was Adrian Peterson, and he had 12 touchdowns on the year. Jonathan Taylor's at 17.
Yeah.
So
So he is definitely
maybe
the thing
there's a
moving
chance.
this offense, especially as we're seeing some of Daniel Jones's faults continue to pop up
We're
and come
seeing
back
a
around.
slight regression from Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that has bearing on a ton of games to end the season. The other game I want to talk about is probably the most shocking upset of the week, and that was the Bills-Dolphins. As the Dolphins won 30-13, a Dolphins team that is out of the playoffs. They're not going to make it. They're 3-7. They were
Yeah.
2-7 entering this game. This was in Miami, so that is something to note. But still, to beat the Bills 30-13 when your season is pretty much over, you've started to trade your pieces, you've done all these things, you fired your GM, your head coach is probably going to get fired. This was a really good win from the Dolphins. On the other side, this is an embarrassing, unacceptable loss from the Bills. Like, Josh Allen cannot have these kinds of games.
Yeah.
Where
Go ahead.
you put the team on your back and you lose them the football game because you're trying to do too much. And that was pretty much what happened.
I thought it was funny a little bit. I enjoyed it. But this was insane. It was they didn't get points on the board till halfway through the third quarter. Multiple turnovers, fumbles, interceptions. I understand the narrative around the wide receivers for the Bills right now. This wide receiver group got them to the AFC Championship game last year. It is not nearly talent deficient as people want to think it is. Josh Allen lost them this game. Multiple sacks. Ball security was terrible. This was not a good game. By them, by him, any of it. I know there are questions right now about whether or not they will consult Brian Dable about the offense. I doubt it at this present moment, unless something continues to derail. They hadn't lost to the Dolphins. They said it on the broadcast. It was like 1,100 plus days. This was ridiculous.
I I'll be honest. I didn't necessarily watch this game in its entirety, but I think the real stat, because we watched this Bills team against the Chiefs, and we saw them come out and be physical and be pretty damn dominant on defense, in my opinion, in that game. Patrick Mahomes could not do anything Patrick Mahomes would normally do. In this game against the Dolphins, you had no sacks. You did turn the ball over twice. You got 2 turnovers. You had 2 interceptions. I mean, that's good, I guess. But no sacks. Very few tackles for loss. I didn't see the same energy. I didn't see the same physicality. I really didn't see the same team that played the Chiefs the week prior. So, I don't know what this game was for the Bills. I don't know if this was we expect to win, so we're not going to approach it the same, and we're just going to go in there and win because we're the Bills and they're the Dolphins. I don't know what the but
I think,
but simply from an effort level, this looked unacceptable.
yeah, I think, I think so much is put on Chiefs Bills, and they can talk about, oh, it's just another game. We play it all the time. But that's kind of the joke, is that that's their Super Bowl. And I think you put so much into that that you forget that there are other games that matter. And I currently don't think the Chiefs are very good. So I don't think beating them was an indication of how good the Bills are. I think for the most part they've won, their wins have been against teams that are below 500. Um, I'm just not sure this Bills team is what people had hoped it was going to be coming into the year.
Uh, yeah, and seriously, they need to be able to stop the run. It's bad. I think that's something. Devon Achan had 174 yards in this game and 2 touchdowns. Like, the Bills need to start. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the solution is, but they've got to figure some stuff out. And I get it. Your D line's a little banged up, but you were having these problems earlier, and you spent all this money on Joey Bosa,
Yeah.
and he had a good game against the Chiefs. But otherwise, I haven't seen Joey Bosa.
I
So,
mean, I think that's one that's always been a little overrated. Not saying there's not talent, but I'm not sure that it's there the way they expected. And that does not surprise me.
so yeah, definitely not the best. So, we'll see what the Bills do. This has also just been the theme of the NFL this year is sometimes good teams are losing to weird things. It's a whole thing. This year in the NFL has been one of the hardest years to predict, in my opinion, from week to
Yeah,
week.
no, that's valid. The thing I would like to talk about is the most boring weeks of primetime games. Like, what the fuck? What are we doing? And I know, right, that if you watch the NFL, you appreciate good defense better. Sure, great. It's just been crap. It's just been
But
garbage. It's
but
boring.
okay, the Raiders Broncos on Thursday night, neither offense
Terrible.
was good. The
Terrible.
Sunday night game, that I can make the argument that was more of a defensive game, but the offenses still weren't great. The Chargers did figure it out as the game went on,
They did get
but
there. Took a minute, but they got there.
and then Eagles Packers, the
What the
offenses
fuck?
were non-existent
Like,
for the
they
vast majority of
didn't
that game.
went into the half 0-0.
It took
And then the first score was a fucking field goal.
it took pretty much
Actually, no, it was a
minutes.
touchdown.
No, it was a field goal. It took
No, it
about
was, yeah.
6 minutes into the third quarter to get a field goal.
Like, it, they're just all boring.
The first touchdown was 2 minutes. Not was a few minutes into the fourth quarter. Like, damn, we need something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
like, it was
And
terrible.
on a side note, as someone in the NFC, I am not afraid of the Eagles one damn bit.
No,
Or the Packers,
no.
for that matter. A Packers team that I thought was going to be, honestly, Super Bowl contenders, Super Bowl favorites, after their trade for Micah Parsons. I simply don't see it at this point.
No, I
So,
mean, I'm not seeing, I think, kind of the defensive explosiveness we expected. And offensively, Jordan Love continues to be hit or miss.
I also think I I don't want to judge him too much because I do think Matt LaFleur is a good head coach. But man, some of these play calls are just painful to watch. Like the amount of screens and short passing
Oh
concepts
my god.
and things that just go nowhere is not helping Jordan Love.
It it looks like a lack of faith or confidence in your quarterback.
And it's not helping. Like,
No, no. And it doesn't help him build confidence.
and
You have to find a way that when he throws an interception or he makes a mistake, he he moves on. That's the big problem he has. People throw interceptions. It happens. But you have to be able to move on. He gets streaky. You have just short passes that cause you to lose games. Where Saquon Barkley's not getting open. I'm really not sure why we didn't trade AJ Brown. Uh all of these things. What are you doing?
I mean, I know why they didn't trade AJ Brown. Nobody wants AJ Brown.
I mean, Bills want to complain about their offense.
But it's very
Maybe
telling that after the trade deadline came out, um,
nobody asked.
nobody asked, and the Bills were reportedly in on Jalen Waddle, and that was it.
Yeah. I'm confused, but I'm
I don't.
really over the boring primetime games. And I don't think the next one's gonna be any better. I do not think Patriots Jets is gonna be very exciting.
I don't think Lions Eagles might not be bad.
I mean, if it's this Eagles team,
Maybe.
I'm not so sure.
And then Cowboys Raiders. Cowboys
I,
Raiders.
who keeps putting the Raiders on primetime?
Here's
Like,
my
what's
thing.
happening?
I'm looking at it. Okay. All right. Possibly the single best game in the NFL is coming up this week, and I'm not saying that on at a bias standpoint, but the Seahawks and the Rams are both 7-2.
Yeah,
This Seahawks team has looked about as good as it gets in the NFL. The Rams team looks about as good as it gets in the NFL. You have one of the best offensive minds in football going against one of the best defensive minds in football.
yeah.
You have the Seahawks explosive offense against a pretty good explosive defense in LA. You have the Rams explosive offense going against a explosive, incredible defense in Seattle. This game is juggernauts playing, and we're gonna have to
And it's
watch.
buried in the late window.
And we're gonna have to watch the Cowboys and the Raiders on primetime.
Yeah. I don't know who keeps putting the fucking Cowboys on primetime. I don't know. Or the Raider. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what we were thinking. Uh,
But damn.
I'm over it. I'm over it.
So, not thrilled by that. Hell, even if you didn't have Seahawks on primetime, there's still a better game out there. Like Chiefs Broncos would still be a better game than whatever we're getting.
Yeah,
Despite how much I think the Chiefs aren't as good as they have been in the past, that's still a rivalry. And that's
it's a
still a.
division matchup. It matters. It's important.
And the Broncos are 8-2. Now,
Like,
again, the Broncos have been pretty pathetic on offense recently, but still.
it's just terrible. It's terrible, and I'm very over it.
Yeah.
And it's another week of mediocre football
What I
on
don't
primetime.
what I don't understand is why games aren't being flexed right now.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. To be fair, I don't know the rules behind flexing games. Like, I'll be the first to admit there are rules. I don't know
yeah.
them.
Like, and I know it's even more complicated with like Thursday night games,
And
but
Monday night and these things were like, because, like, for example, if you were to flex the Seahawks game, Fox Sports would be losing that game,
yeah,
and NBC would be gaining it. But, like, I don't know how that works. I don't know if the NFL simply can't do that in a way to their TV partners. Like, I'm
yeah.
not sure. I don't know the rules. So, yeah, it's starting to get a little annoying. Thankfully, it's starting to get slightly better as weeks go on. It looks like I'm looking ahead a little bit. Never mind. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with prime time from here on out.
Yeah, I
I think it's clear the NFL expected teams to be better than they are when they were
here's
planning
my
prime
thing
time.
with that. Here's my thing with that. Maybe wait a year. You know, like unless there's a massive storyline, let's maybe wait and see if the Raiders are actually worth a shit before we give them 2 primetime games in a year. Like, let's wait and see. You know?
I get it, but then we'd be in the same conversation of where we are now. Of like, you waited, but now we missed out on these because these teams were really good, and you decided to wait and not put them in prime time. So I'm not envious of the NFL scheduling department.
Yeah.
So
Um. Yeah. I mean, that's my one major thought. We kind of talked about the games that I think
I don't disagree.
are
I
relevant,
think
but
primetime games have definitely not been great as of late. So
it's been a rough go. Been a rough go.
it might start getting better as the NFL does start flexing games. I just don't, again, know when that can start. So hopefully it starts getting a little better.
Fair enough. All right. Well, if that does it for us, then we will look ahead to next week.
Yeah.
The Ravens play the Browns at 1:25 Pacific time, 4:25 Eastern, Sunday football. It will be a game that happens. If it's a good or great game, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to be a little disappointed. Um, Hoping to put out a preview this week. I know neither one of us had one out last week. Apologies. We were traveling, doing some things. Um, Hopefully going to get those both out for you this week. But Ravens at Browns, look at this point for the Ravens, every game matters. They can't afford to be losing games, and they certainly can't afford to be losing division games. So It is important. I don't want it to be a good game, especially if they're going to keep starting Dylan Gabriel. But is what's happening.
Fair. The Seahawks play the LA Rams, as previously mentioned. That game is at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. It's in LA. This is going to be probably one of the games of the year.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to this one. Got a lot of thoughts. We'll cover in our preview, or in a preview. This could be pretty much the game that doesn't just decide the division, but it could decide the NFC as a whole. So, really looking forward to it.
I'm going to stick with the theme. I'm going to continue to watch teams and games I haven't watched yet. So, I'm going to watch San Francisco 49ers play the Arizona Cardinals at 1:05 Sunday Eastern Time. 4:05. Nope, I'm sorry. Sunday 1:05 Pacific Time. 4:05 Eastern. I've been kind of waiting on the 49ers until Brock Purdy returned. I'm not sure when that's going to happen at this point. So, I'm just kind of saying, fuck it.
Fair.
And we're going to knock those two out of the park, especially since it's two teams I haven't watched yet. Be able to kind of get in, get out, see what's up.
Nice. For my game of the week, I'm gonna take a similar approach. I'm gonna go Panthers, Falcons. I don't think I've watched either of these teams. I might have watched the Panthers, but obviously this game is 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. I know that the Panthers whooped the Falcons the last time, so I'm gonna be interesting to see how the Falcons respond to that.
Yeah.
Obviously the Falcons are stumbling after a pretty decent start to the season. 3-6 is not great, but this Panthers team is 5-5, but a very weird 5-5. So I will be intrigued to see where we go with this game.
Agreed. Good luck to that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that does it for our look ahead. Any random sports news?
I don't have any.
Okay.
I take it you don't.
I don't. I feel like we're being teased right now. There've been a lot of commercials for the Olympics coming on. And I just want it. I just want it here. I cannot tell you. I cannot express how excited I am for curling. I'm so excited.
Okay. That is not what I
You
thought.
you don't like curling? Like if you don't know it or you've never you should. It's a great time. Look, I love hockey. I love the Winter Olympics. But so many of these other sports you can get in some fashion. Like there's hockey every year. You can watch the X Games and watch snowboarding and things like that. Curling, I get once every 4 years.
All right. You heard it here first. Dallas is most looking forward to curling.
Curling.
All right. Well, we're just going to leave the podcast there because I think that's a appropriate place to do it. So I think that does it for us this week. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you're like Dallas, let us know if you're looking forward to curling the most in the Winter Olympics. Otherwise, let us know what sport you're looking forward to most in the Olympics. Be kind of interesting to see what the general consensus is on that. But that all being said, this has been Floxnet Sports Podcast. Thank y'all for joining. I've been Brendan.
And I've been Dallas.
Peace.